Imagine if your household water filter didn't just catch the dirt. Like it didn't just trap it in a mesh screen, but it actually transformed the mud itself into pure, perfectly drinkable water.
Which would be quite the filter.
Right, it would be magic. But imagine a rare, free-floating geological stone that metaphysical practitioners believe does that exact same thing to human stress.
Yeah, it's a completely different way to think about energy.
Exactly. Welcome to today's Deep Dive. Today, we are opening up a really fascinating set of source texts, primarily excerpts from a book called The Dual Flow, Metaphysics of Double Terminated Crystals.
That's a very specific text.
It is. And our mission for this deep dive is to explore this highly unusual world of, well, bidirectional energy. We're going to look at how a very specific geological formation has become basically the ultimate tool for healers, meditators, and really anyone looking to avoid what the text calls stagnation in their daily lives.
And the jump from the hard physical reality of the Earth straight into these intricate metaphysical applications provides such a fascinating framework. I mean, the sources don't just treat the stone as a magic wand, right?
No, not at all.
They build this comprehensive system based entirely on its physical shape.
Which is why I think this is the perfect topic for you, listener listening right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because whether you consider yourself a total skeptic, a geology nerd, or a practicing energy healer, the concept of a tool that absorbs, transmutes, and emits energy simultaneously, it's just a compelling lens through which to view balance in our own lives.
Absolutely. It's relevant to anyone dealing with modern chaos.
Right. We are talking about an object that takes the chaos in, completely changes its state, and sends it back out as something useful. But to really grasp the mechanics of this, we have to start with the physical reality.
You really do.
Yeah, before we touch the metaphysical properties, we need to outline what a double terminated or DT quartz crystal actually looks like and, how the Earth actually makes it.
The physical foundation is essential here because, well, the shape dictates the function in this belief system.
Yeah.
When you picture a standard quartz crystal in your mind, you're likely visualizing a single terminated crystal.
Right, like the kind you'd see in a basic rock shop.
Exactly. It has this jagged, maybe flat or cloudy base where it literally broke off from the host rock, and it points upward, culminating in a single faceted peak.
Because it grew in one direction.
Right. A double terminated crystal, however, has natural facets pointing at both ends.
So it comes to a natural geometric point at the top.
And another natural geometric point at the bottom.
Wow.
And according to our sources, finding these perfectly formed, naturally occurring double terminated quartz crystals is incredibly rare. The text highlights the rarest and most famous of these, which are known as Herkimer diamonds.
Right, the Herkimer diamonds. And the geological timeline and the environment required to create one of those is, it's staggering.
It really is. They're found primarily in Herkimer County, New York, in this type of rock called dolostone that formed roughly 500 million years ago.
500 million.
Yeah. But the crystals didn't grow out of the rock itself. They formed inside these small cavities within the rock known as vugs.
Vugs, VGS.
VGS, yeah. Vugs.
Okay, so picture a tiny subterranean cave completely sealed off from the outside world. Over massive stretches of time, these silica-rich liquids seeped into these cavities.
Right, filling the vug.
Yeah, filling the vug. And the crystal didn't attach to the walls. Instead, it formed in a free-floating suspension within that highly pressurized, enclosed pocket of liquid.
It just floated there.
It just floated. And eventually, that liquid slowly evaporated or receded, leaving behind these perfectly formed, double-pointed crystals sitting loose in the cavity.
You know what it makes me think of?
What's that?
It makes me think of the difference between a tree and a pearl.
Oh, that's interesting. Like a normal single terminated crystal is like a tree growing out of the soil. It's firmly attached at its base, growing in one direction up toward the sun.
Right.
But a double terminated crystal is more like a pearl forming inside an oyster. It's floating freely, developing perfectly and symmetrically on all sides, completely unattached to a base.
What's fascinating here is how that specific physical origin translates directly to their perceived metaphysical purity in the texts.
Because they aren't attached to anything.
Exactly, because they didn't grow out of a host rock, because they formed independently in this fluid suspension. Practitioners view them as having a significantly enhanced healing capability compared to normal unidirectional quartz.
Right. Their physical independence mirrors their energetic independence.
Yes. They aren't an offshoot of a larger mountain. They are a complete closed-loop system of geometric perfection.
And whether you buy into the metaphysics or not, you know, you have to admit the internal logic there is really fascinating. Taking the physical independence of the stone and mirroring it energetically.
It's very internally consistent.
It is. And the text also mentions that while you have these naturally formed wonders, some double-terminated crystals are actually artificially cut and polished into this shape to replicate the function.
Right, because in this belief system, it's the physical geometry itself that forces the energy to behave the way it does.
The shape is the key.
The geometry acts as the blueprint. Because it has 2 points, the energy can't just, shoot out of one end like a laser beam.
Yeah.
The core mechanic of a double-terminated crystal, as heavily outlined in our sources, is its ability to absorb, amplify, and emit energy from both ends simultaneously.
Well.
Yeah. The text describes this state as acting as a connecting bridge.
Well, if it's acting as a bridge, I imagine practitioners aren't just using it on one isolated spot. Like they must be using it to connect different energy centers on the body, right? Or maybe bridging the gap between 2 entirely different people.
The applications for bridging are huge, actually. It could be placed between 2 specific chakras, which, in these traditions, are essentially the supposed energetic hubs or, like, spinning wheels of energy running down the human body.
Yeah.
Or it can act as a bridge between 2 physical places to maintain a connection. Or on a much grander, more esoteric scale, it can act as a bridge between spirit and matter.
So by simultaneously pulling and pushing energy in both directions, it integrates elements that are separated or isolated.
Exactly.
And the text explicitly argues that this bidirectional flow keeps you in the flow of life, actively helping you to avoid stagnation. Stagnation being the moment when energy just pools, gets stuck, and begins to rot, either emotionally or physically.
Right. A single-ended crystal is strictly unidirectional. It channels energy one way.
But life is rarely a one-way street. We are constantly in a state of giving and receiving.
So when you introduce a tool that naturally mirrors the bidirectional reality of human interaction, it promotes continuous movement. It prevents the pooling you mentioned.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I have a serious question about the mechanics of this bridge.
Okay, go for it.
If this crystal is simultaneously pulling energy in from one end and pushing it out the other, how is it not just acting as a simple open conduit for negative energy?
I see what you're saying.
Like if I am highly stressed and I use this crystal as a bridge to connect with my environment, doesn't it just absorb my raw stress and blast it out the other side into the room or into whoever is nearby?
Right. That assumption is actually directly addressed by the sources, and it requires us to look closer at the internal mechanics.
Okay.
The texts outline a very specific 3-step process. These crystals do not just absorb and emit.
Oh.
They absorb, transmute, and then emanate.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because transmutation means fundamentally changing the form or nature of a substance. So the crystal is actively altering the energy.
Exactly. Think back to your water filter analogy from earlier. It isn't a hollow pipe moving dirty water from point A to point B. It functions as a highly advanced energetic filter. When the negative energy, the stress, or the stagnation is absorbed into the point of the crystal, the internal crystalline matrix, the actual lattice structure of the stone, transmutes it.
The lattice structure itself.
Yeah. The text suggests this geometric lattice catches the chaotic vibrations, breaks down the old jagged patterns, and reorganizes them. By the time that energy reaches the opposite point to be emanated, its state has been fundamentally purified.
Wow. So it takes in the muddy water of a chaotic environment, runs it through this perfect, unattached geometric structure, and outputs a clear, usable stream.
That completely changes the utility of the stone, doesn't it?
It does. It isn't just moving your baggage around. It is actively processing it for you.
And this transmutation mechanism is exactly why it is so highly valued by Reiki practitioners.
Right, people who focus on routing and channeling universal life energy through the body for healing.
Yes. They rely on the crystal to actively break down old patterns and integrate previously blocked parts of the self.
So now that we understand the underlying mechanism of this energetic bridge, the absorbing, transmuting, and emanating, let's look at the specific blueprints. How are crystal therapists and energy workers actually deploying these tools on the human body?
The sources outline pretty complex layouts for clearing and stimulating all 7 chakras, but they really emphasize using the dual flow to address highly specific blockages.
Like what kind of blockages?
For instance, the text discusses balancing the left and right hemispheres of the brain by resting the crystal horizontally across the forehead, and they also heavily detail their utility in assisting with overcoming addictions.
Wait, really? How exactly does a dual flow crystal help with addiction?
Well, think about what addiction is.
Right. Because addiction, if we look at it through this energetic lens, is essentially a stagnant loop. It's a one-way street of craving and temporary relief that you just can't get off of.
Exactly. And the mechanism proposed by the text relies on disrupting that closed loop. When someone is trapped in an addictive cycle, their energy is described as pooling in one specific behavioral rut.
Right, a severe localized stagnation.
Yes. By introducing a tool that physically forces energy to flow in two opposing directions simultaneously, practitioners believe it acts like a bypass valve.
A bypass valve. I like that.
It disrupts the stagnant pool, pulls the trapped energy through the transmuting matrix, and forces a new, healthier energetic pathway to open up.
That makes profound sense within the logic of the system. You're using geometric flow to break a psychological dam.
Precisely. Another placement that the text heavily emphasizes is the third eye.
Which is the space just between and slightly above the eyebrows, right?
Right. When a double terminated crystal is placed vertically on the third eye, it is said to drastically increase telepathic abilities.
Oh, wow. Well, telepathy is the ultimate bidirectional communication, isn't it?
Yeah.
You are attempting to send and receive thought simultaneously without physical speech.
Exactly. The physical stone mirrors the desired metaphysical outcome. You need a transmitter and a receiver operating at the exact same time, which is the literal definition of the DT crystal.
Makes sense.
And many practitioners use this specific placement during deep meditation, not just for telepathy, but to enhance brighter psychic abilities, deep visualization, and to induce lucid dreaming.
Because the dual flow connects the dense physical self to lighter spiritual realms, passing information back and forth.
Right, and the sources also move beyond just general clear quartz to highlight specific synergies. Different mineral compositions naturally flavor this dual flow.
Okay, so it's not just clear quartz.
No. For example, the text points to double terminated rose quartz.
Oh, rose quartz is universally associated with emotional healing.
Yes. By cutting it into a DT shape, practitioners use it specifically to remove deep-seated, stagnant emotional pain from the heart chakra. They believe it filters that grief and infuses the chest with pure, soothing, bidirectional energy.
And then the text highlights double terminated fluorite as being one of the absolute best tools for yoga and deep meditation.
Fluorite is fascinating.
Yeah, because fluorite naturally carries a very focusing, structuring frequency. When you combine that structuring frequency with the bidirectional flow of a DT shape, it creates this really powerful anchoring effect.
It deeply enhances the energy flow in the aura.
Right, the invisible energetic field supposedly surrounding the body, helping the user stay incredibly centered while they stretch or meditate.
And this raises an important question about how we stack these frequencies.
Stacking them.
Yeah. The text details a specific technique for amplifying these targeted effects. A practitioner doesn't just place a double terminated stone on a chakra and leave it alone.
What do?
They place the DT on the blockage, and then they place that chakra's specific colored stone directly on top of the DT crystal.
Oh, it is like the double terminated crystal is a high-end stereo amplifier.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Right. It provides the raw power, the clear channel, the deep bidirectional flow. But the colored stone you place on top of it, let's say a vibrant blue lapis lazuli for the throat chakra, that is the specific musical instrument.
Exactly.
The DT takes the unique flavor or frequency of that colored stone and dynamically amplifies its results across the transmuting bridge.
And the texts state this produces tangibly improved, rapid results compared to using the colored stone alone. The DT provides the bidirectional highway, and the colored stone dictates the specific cargo being transported across it.
That's a great image.
And this scaling of energy leads us to look beyond just intimate personal healing sessions on the body. We have to consider how this dual flow functions outside of a localized healing layout.
Okay, so if these crystals act as amplifiers and bridges on a microscopic level on our physical bodies, what happens when we scale that up? Does that same bidirectional flow work across an entire room or a living space?
One of the most prominent environmental applications mentioned in the sources is the use of DTs in crystal grids.
Crystal grids.
Yes, the text actually refers to them as the essential pieces for this practice. A crystal grid is not just a random pile of stones on a table,
Right, it's very intentional.
Very. It is an intentional, highly structured geometric pattern, often utilizing sacred geometry like the flower of life laid out on a floor or an altar. The goal is to manifest a specific intention or maintain a continuous protective energy field throughout an entire room.
Well, if you build a grid using only single terminated crystals,
Hmm.
they're all pointing in different directions. They're basically just shouting into the void, operating independently.
Which isn't very efficient.
No. So the text specifically recommends using double terminated clear quartz crystals to connect the grid. They act as, like, the fiber optic cables linking the whole network together.
That's spot on. By placing DTs between the larger stones in the pattern, they absorb the unique properties of the surrounding crystals, transmute any environmental interference, and emit a unified frequency.
Wow.
Yeah, they ensure the entire grid talks to itself. It maintains a cohesive, circulating network of energy rather than a scattered one.
And beyond these complex geometric grids, the sources note some incredibly practical, everyday protective qualities. Like, we aren't just talking about esoteric telepathy and expansive spiritual realms. We are talking about surviving modern life.
It's a daily grind.
Exactly. Double terminated crystals are highly effective for maintaining personal energy levels for inordinately long periods of time. They are also specifically cited in the text for protecting against environmental radiation.
And the practical utility for the average person is a major focus of the text. They highlight these stones for post-workday stress relief.
Which we all need.
Oh, definitely. If a person wants to regenerate and relax after a deeply taxing day in a chaotic office, the text suggests simply holding a double terminated crystal between the hands.
Just holding it.
Just holding it. The dual flow works to actively pull the accumulated mental debris from the body, filter it through the matrix, and infuse the aura with clear, pure energy.
And they are heavily utilized as tools for focusing energy on a well-set intention too. Like, if you are trying to manifest a new career or a new mindset, you need a tool that can send that intention out into the world while simultaneously receiving the opportunities coming back.
It's that bidirectional highway again.
Exactly. The text actually makes a rather bold, definitive claim. It states, you just cannot do without one in your collection, whether you happen to dabble in metaphysics or simply want to better your life.
It is an uncompromising endorsement of the tool's absolute necessity.
So what does this all mean? For the average person listening to this deep dive, someone who might not be building complex crystal grids in their living room, but who is just looking to relax after a tough day and avoid burning out, why should they care about the intricate mechanics of bidirectional energy flow?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, maintaining our personal energy levels against daily drain is a universal human challenge.
It really is.
We all face environments, difficult conversations, and high-pressure situations that deeply drain us. We all experience moments where we feel utterly stagnant, where we feel like we are just taking on the stress and anxiety of the world without processing any of it.
Just absorbing and pooling.
Right. The concept of bidirectional flow, of not just absorbing the chaos, but actively transmuting it and intentionally emanating something better, it offers a powerful blueprint for personal energetic hygiene.
It teaches us that we do not have to be passive receptacles for everything happening around us. We can actively process and cycle the emotional and mental energy we encounter, maintaining our own balance and boundaries in the process.
Exactly.
It is taking this rare ancient geology that formed 500 million years ago in isolated pockets of liquid and applying its underlying logic directly to modern burnout.
The stone basically serves as a physical, tangible reminder of a continuous regenerative process we can strive to emulate in our own emotional lives. It is a profound shift from seeing our personal energy as a simple one-way transmission, like a battery slowly draining until it dies, to understanding it as a dynamic loop.
Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to thank you, the listener, for exploring this rare bidirectional world with us. We have journeyed from those incredible free-floating liquid vugs deeper than the Earth 500 million years ago to the unique formation of Herkimer diamonds, all the way to understanding how these distinct geometric shapes serve as powerful energetic bridges for healers and everyday people alike.
It's been quite the journey.
It has. We have seen how the internal matrix supposedly acts as a filter, taking in the muddy stagnation of our daily routines, transmuting it, and returning a pure bidirectional flow.
The mechanics of the stone really do offer a masterclass in balance and integration.
They really do. But before we sign off, I want to leave you with something to mull over. Think about the concept of the single terminated crystal fell, a rigid one-way flow of energy.
Okay.
Now look at our modern world. So much of our lives are endless social media feeds, the relentless 24-hour news cycle, the constant barrage of notifications on our phones is a single terminated blast of energy aimed right at us.
That's a very real way to look at it.
Right. It is designed to be absorbed, pooling in our minds and creating immense stagnation. What would it look like if we consciously adopted the mindset of a double-terminated crystal in our own daily interactions?
That's a great question.
Instead of just passively absorbing the world's stress or blindly projecting our own chaotic noise back into the void, what if we tried to act as bridges? Taking in the chaos, using our own internal matrix to transmute it into something useful, and emanating a much more balanced, thoughtful energy out the other side.
A vital perspective for navigating an overwhelming environment.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. Keep asking questions, keep looking for the flow, and we will see you next time.